The universe seemed infinite, yet the Phantom Navy moved like a single heartbeat, threading through the dark like a phantom serpent. Humans had awakened, and the aliens, their fleet vast, precise, and confident, now discovered something they had not accounted for. Patience. Intelligence. Defiance. On board the Spectre, Admiral Kalen Voss stood before the central holomap, eyes scanning sectors where alien ships had vanished moments ago. Each disappearance left behind fragments of data, strange energy readings, faint ripples in the fabric of space. "They underestimate us," he said. His voice carried the weight of generations. "And that is their first mistake." Lieutenant Mira Ellen's fingers traced the glowing symbols on the map. "They're adaptive," she warned. "Every time we disable one ship, another adjusts almost instantly." "They're learning." Kalen nodded. "Let them. We will be 2 steps ahead when it matters most." Far above, Commander Alina Serov watched the skies from the orbital station Haven. Unlike Kalen, she did not command the Phantom Navy, yet she felt its presence, like a ghost watching over the world. She thought of the billions below her, unaware of the silent war playing out above their heads. Families, children, lovers, dreamers. Earth had everything worth defending. "We are the shield," she whispered to herself. "And the shield is endless." The first counterattack came not from Earth but from the outskirts of the galaxy. Alien ships, hungry, arrogant, unyielding, had launched a strike on a remote mining colony. It was a trap. The Phantom Navy arrived silently. No alarms blared, no flares lit the void. Ships appeared, striking with precision that made the alien fleet reel. Every strike disabled engines, disarmed weapons, and left enemy crews scrambling. Yet the humans aboard the Spectre knew this was not victory. It was warning. Kalen's voice rang clear across the fleet. "We strike not to destroy nor yet. We strike to show we exist, to show the universe that humans cannot be crushed." But victory carried a cost. Ships slipped through folds of space, but space itself was merciless. An entire squadron, phantoms that had existed for decades without human eyes ever seeing them, was lost in a collapse of time-space. One moment they were moving and the next, nothing. Mira's hands trembled over the console. They're gone, vanished. Just like that. Kalen placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Do not mourn yet. They were part of the sacrifice we always knew might come. Humanity remembers them. Humanity carries them. That is how we endure." On Earth, civilians noticed strange phenomena. Communications blacked out briefly, satellites blinked on and off, and a sense of something invisible brushing against the skies filled the hearts of those paying attention. Rumors swirled, stories of ghost ships and vanished fleets. Yet for the first time, hope spread like wildfire. People looked up at the night sky and felt they were not alone, not just as humans, but as witnesses to something extraordinary. Alina watched the orbital feeds, her mind racing. "We cannot just wait," she said. "They are strong, yes. Brilliant, yes. But the humans below, they need to know that we fight with them, not just for them." And then came the message. Encrypted, subtle, impossible for alien sensors to trace. It came from a phantom ship, a vessel older than any government record. "We strike at dawn. Prepare for the first wave." The humans listened, their hearts tightening. Dawn was not a time. It was a promise. A promise that humanity's ingenuity, courage, and spirit would erupt in a storm the universe had never witnessed. In the alien fleet, confusion spread. Their intelligence systems could not keep pace. Shadows seemed to flicker where no ships existed, weapons fired into empty space, and crews began whispering of ghosts that could not be killed. They had underestimated humans, not only their cunning but their persistence, their unity, their unyielding will. Kalen stood on the bridge of the Spectre, looking outward at the alien formations. "This war," he said, "is more than survival. It is a declaration. Humanity is not a world to conquer. Humanity is a force of nature, and we are awake." As the stars themselves seemed to bend around the phantom fleet, a single thought ran through every human soul aboard the ships and below the oceans. The universe had come to war over Earth. And now, Earth had woken the storm. The void trembled with anticipation. Above Earth, alien ships formed a ring of steel and darkness, confident, precise, certain that victory was inevitable. They had never faced humans on this scale before. They had never met a species that could vanish into nothing and strike with surgical precision. They had never met ghosts. Beneath the Atlantic waves, the Phantom Navy prepared its first full assault. Ships that had existed only in myth hummed to life. Energy pulsed along their hulls like the heartbeat of a hidden giant. Admiral Kalen Voss stood on the bridge of the Spectre, his gaze sharp as a blade. The countdown had begun, not just to battle, but to humanity's declaration that it would not be conquered. Lieutenant Mira Ellen moved beside him, her fingers dancing over the console as holographic projections painted the enemy fleet in icy blue. "They've fortified their outer layers. Shields are stronger than anything we've seen," she said, voice steady but tinged with awe. "But they move slowly. They can't adapt fast enough to what we're about to do." Kalen nodded. "Patience, Mira. Timing is everything. We strike when the universe least expects it." And then, at the first hint of dawn on Earth, the Phantom Navy emerged from the folds of space-time. Ships shimmered into existence above the alien fleet, appearing like ghosts dancing in a cruel ballet. Engines whispered, unseen by sensors, as pulses of energy rippled across the void. Alien captains stared in disbelief as their ships faltered, systems disrupted by attacks they could not trace. On Earth, people looked up at the sky, unaware of the full scope of the battle, yet sensing a change. Satellites captured brief flashes, fleeting shadows that moved too quickly, too deliberately to be random. The stories of ghost fleets had been whispered for generations, but now, for the first time, the whispers carried truth. Kalen's voice cut through the bridge. "Begin Phase 1. Target command clusters." The strike was surgical. Entire sections of alien ships fell silent, their engines frozen, weapons disabled. Crew members scrambled in panic, realizing the enemy had been inside their systems before they even knew what hit them. It was a dance of ghosts, an art of war that the universe had never imagined. Commander Alina Serov observed the battle from orbit. She had spent her life studying strategy, but what she saw now went beyond theory. Humans were not just fighting. They were rewriting the rules of engagement. "They are not just defending," she whispered to herself. "They are teaching the universe fear." Yet even as the Phantom Navy gained the upper hand, the cost of war became painfully real. Ships vanished into temporal rifts. Crews lost. To the folds of space-time, casualties counted not just in numbers but in legends. Each loss struck Kalen and Mira like a hammer, yet every survivor carried the weight of those gone, a reminder that humanity endured through sacrifice. Suddenly, the alien fleet shifted. They adapted, faster than anticipated. Shadows that had appeared to be empty now contained ships, firing on coordinates that seemed impossible. Chaos rippled through the Phantom Navy as attacks struck from unexpected angles. Mira's eyes widened. "They're learning." Kalen's jaw tightened. "Then we teach them faster." He activated the fleet's next maneuver, a cascade of invisible vessels, warping around the enemy's outer defenses, striking where no sensors could detect. For every alien adaptation, humanity had already prepared a counter, a move older than the oldest captain on board. On Earth, children slept unaware of the war in the skies, yet in some hearts, a faint hope stirred. People felt it in the wind, in the subtle shimmer of the stars, a reassurance that someone somewhere was fighting not just for survival, but for every human dream. The battle raged, a symphony of light, shadow, and energy. Ships collided, vanished, reappeared. Weapons fired into the void, only to strike at the unseen. And at the center of it all, the Phantom Navy moved like one mind, one heartbeat, one will, humanity's will. Hours passed like moments, and then slowly the alien fleet faltered. They had underestimated humans. They had assumed strength alone would win the day. They had forgotten that humans fought with ingenuity, with courage, with defiance. And above all, they had ignored the power of ghosts. Kalen allowed himself a quiet breath. "This is only the beginning," he said, voice low, resolute. "The universe came to war over Earth. But they will learn that humans do not yield. Humans endure. Humans rise." And as the Phantom Navy retreated into the folds of space, leaving the enemy fleet crippled and confused, Earth itself seemed to hum with the pulse of resilience. Humanity had awakened. Humanity had struck. And the universe, vast and indifferent, had finally taken notice. The alien fleet retreated, crippled but not defeated. Shadows lingered where humans could not see, whispering strategies that would return. The Phantom Navy, victorious yet weary, drifted through the void like spectral guardians. Even ghosts tire. Admiral Kalen Voss paced the bridge of the Spectre, eyes scanning a galaxy that seemed suddenly smaller, more intimate, and more dangerous. Mira Ellen stood beside him, reviewing after-action data. "We struck them hard," she said, voice tight. "But they're learning. Every attack we made, they analyzed it, adapted it. Next time they won't be so easy to surprise." Kalen nodded, his face a mask of calm determination. "Then we adapt faster. Humans always do. That is how we endure." But the victory had come with a cost heavier than steel. Several Phantom ships had been lost to temporal collapse, their crews swallowed by folds of space-time. The silence of their absence weighed on the fleet like a shroud. In the mess halls and command centers, whispers of loss carried alongside strategies, reminding everyone that even legends bleed. Meanwhile, on Earth, ordinary life began to creep back into view, oblivious to the scale of the war above. Yet the humans on orbit and below the oceans could sense it, the quiet dread that comes after a first clash. People had glimpsed hope, but that hope was fragile. Humanity's enemies were patient, infinite in reach and relentless in curiosity. Commander Alina Serov reviewed transmissions from distant colonies. "They're sending scouts beyond the edges of known space," she said. "Exploring, probing. Every world, every settlement is a potential threat or prize. We're small. They are vast. And yet," her voice trailed, eyes fixed on the stars, "they fear us." It was not arrogance. It was truth. Humanity had awakened something the universe had never accounted for: unpredictability. Humans were not merely flesh and machine. They were ideas, history, courage, and resolve incarnate. They fought not just with weapons, but with vision. Kalen convened the Council of Captains. "The universe is awake to us now. Every fleet, every colony, every intelligence will mark Earth as a target. But we have advantage. They think they understand the Phantom Navy. They don't. We have secrets. We have speed. We have will." Mira's eyes softened as she spoke. "They'll come for us again. And this time, they'll be better prepared. We cannot rely on ghosts alone. Humans on Earth, they must be ready too." Kalen nodded gravely. "Then it is time. Time to awaken more than just legends. Time to remind the universe that Earth is never alone." Across distant stars, alien intelligence buzzed in coordination. They were frustrated, learning at a pace they had not anticipated. Every analysis of the Phantom Navy yielded anomalies, inconsistencies, and impossible phenomena. The humans were not just fighting, they were rewriting the rules. And for a species that thrived on certainty, that was a terror unlike any weapon. And yet, in the calm after battle, Kalen could feel doubt creeping into the minds of his fleet. They were humans. They were ghosts. But they were also fragile. Each victory reminded them of mortality, of the stakes, of the cost of each decision. Even legends can bleed. On Earth, people began noticing strange phenomena once more. Lights dancing above oceans, signals that had no source, fleeting glimpses of shapes moving faster than any craft should. Children told stories of ships that disappeared only to reappear elsewhere. People laughed it off or shivered in awe. The Phantom Navy's existence was a secret, but its presence touched the lives of every human. Kalen watched the stars and felt something he had not in decades. A shiver of fear, not for himself, but for humanity. "We have awakened the storm," he whispered. "And storms are not gentle. They do not spare the weak. We must be stronger than anything they imagine. In the silence, Mira leaned closer. Do you ever wonder if humanity is ready? Kalen's gaze hardened. It does not matter if they are ready. They will be. They have to be, because the universe does not forgive hesitation. And far beyond, where the alien fleets regrouped, intelligence scoured the void, analyzing, calculating, preparing. They had underestimated humans once. They would not make that mistake again. But they could not anticipate one thing. Humans did not fight like others. Humans did not merely survive, they inspired, endured, and evolved with every challenge. The universe had come to war over Earth, and now, humanity's resolve echoed across the stars. A sound louder than any cannon, sharper than any blade. A warning, a promise, a declaration: we endure, we rise. We are never alone. The void was silent, but silence in space was never safe. It was merely the calm before a storm, and for the Phantom Navy, the storm had only just begun. Admiral Kalen Voss stood on the bridge of the Spectre, gazing at the holographic display. The alien fleet had retreated beyond known space, leaving fragments of wreckage and a trail of confusion. Yet Kalen knew better than to believe they were gone. They were calculating, learning, plotting revenge, and the longer humanity waited, the stronger their adversaries would become. We strike at the source, Kalen said, voice low but commanding. We take the fight beyond the edge. We remind them that humans do not cower and Earth is not alone. Mira Ellen's fingers danced across the controls. Beyond the edge of known space, Admiral, the intelligence is incomplete. We don't even know what we're stepping into. This could be a trap. Kalen smiled grimly. Then we step carefully, and we step together. The fleet moved silently, slipping through folds of space that even the aliens had not mapped. Ships vanished and reappeared like shadows, threading through the darkness with the elegance of hunters. Every vessel was a testament to human ingenuity, centuries of preparation, and the quiet devotion of countless lives who had worked in secrecy for generations. In the alien heart of the void, fleets stirred. They had adapted from the first clash, but human unpredictability haunted them. Ghostly ships struck at impossible angles, bypassed defenses, and reappeared where they were least expected. Alien commanders whispered among themselves, fear creeping into circuits and neural nets alike. The humans were something they could not define, and the unknown always terrifies. On board the Spectre, Kalen watched as sensors flickered with anomalies, alien structures floating in the void, shimmering energy fields that bent reality, and vessels that moved with unnatural precision. This is their stronghold, he said, and we are going to show them why Earth is never conquered. The first engagement was swift. Human ships moved in ghostly formations, striking at energy nodes powering alien fortifications, weapons fired with surgical precision, collapsing shields and creating chaos among the enemy fleet. Entire alien squadrons found themselves paralyzed, their engines frozen by systems they could not comprehend. Mira's voice trembled with excitement and fear. It's working, but they're responding faster than we anticipated. They're learning from us. Kalen's eyes hardened. Then we evolve faster. That is humanity's advantage. Every moment is an opportunity. Every strike is a lesson. The Phantom Navy pressed forward, weaving through fields of energy and floating debris. Ships vanished, reappeared, and struck again, creating a symphony of destruction and precision. They were everywhere and nowhere. Untouchable, unpredictable, and terrifying. Yet, even as victory seemed within reach, the human fleet encountered the first true test, an alien vessel of immense size unlike any they had faced before. It moved with the weight of a planet, its shields impervious to conventional attacks. Sensors detected fluctuations in time around it, bending reality in ways that unsettled even the most experienced human captains. Kalen's jaw tightened. This is the heart of their operation, and this is what we've been preparing for. Mira stared at the vessel, awe and fear mingling in her expression. It's alive in a way, or something like it. How do we fight that? Kalen placed a steady hand on her shoulder. With everything we are, with every lesson we've learned. With courage. Humanity has never faced the impossible and backed down. We will not start now. As the fleet engaged the colossal alien vessel, strange phenomena began to unfold. Time shimmered. Weapons dissolved mid-flight, and the void itself seemed to pulse with energy. But humans adapted, improvising strategies on the fly. using unpredictability and ingenuity to turn the alien advantage against them. Above Earth, unnoticed, the people sensed it, the calm shimmer of the stars, the quiet sense that something extraordinary was unfolding. Across oceans, rivers, and mountains, eyes turned upward, hearts pulsing with a mixture of fear, wonder, and hope. Humans were fighting far away beyond the edge, against an enemy that spanned galaxies, and they were winning. Kalen's voice carried across the fleet.
This is our moment.
Remember who we are. Remember why we fight. And remember, Earth is not just a planet. It is the heart of humanity. And nothing can take it from us. The first salvo struck the alien heart of operations, and reality itself seemed to ripple with the power unleashed. The universe had come to war over Earth. But humans had reached beyond the edge, and the storm of ghosts had begun in earnest. The universe held its breath. Above a shattered cluster of stars, the alien heart of operations loomed, a fortress alive with pulsing energy, spinning like a dark sun. Every human sensor screamed warnings, every instinct urged caution. But caution had never defined humanity. Not once, not ever. Admiral Kalen Voss stood on the bridge of the Spectre, his eyes steely, his jaw set. Around him, the Phantom Navy shimmered, ghosts of a species that refused to be broken. "This is it," he said, voice low but resolute. "This is why we endure. Every life lost, every sacrifice made, it all leads to this. Humanity will not yield." Lieutenant Mira Ellen's fingers hovered over the controls. "The core—" "Admiral, it's unlike anything in our history. It bends space, manipulates time. Even our sensors can barely track it." Kalen nodded. "Then we adapt. That is humanity's gift. We do not wait for the impossible. We become it." The fleet moved as one. Ghostly ships weaved through fields of energy, vanishing and reappearing, striking at the alien fortress with a precision that defied comprehension. Every pulse of their weapons disrupted shields, distorted reality, and sent ripples through the alien forces. The enemies had expected humans to flee, to cower, but humans advanced. Commander Alina Serov observed from orbit above Earth. "They've gone further than anyone believed possible," she whispered. "They carry the weight of the planet and the will of every human being," the alien fortress responded. Energy ripples surged outward, tearing through ships, collapsing space around them, challenging even the Phantom Navy's unique navigation. Shadows flickered, and in some ships, crews glimpsed impossible shapes, alien constructs alive in ways that mocked understanding. Mira's voice trembled. "We're taking casualties. Admiral, this is more than anyone expected." Kalen's eyes did not waver. "Then we give them more than they expect. We give them humanity." The strike began. Phantom ships converged, not with sheer firepower, but with ingenuity. Weapons pulsed in sequence with gravity wells, time distortions, and unseen maneuvers. The alien fortress shuddered, its defenses unraveling as humans exploited every weakness. It was a symphony of intelligence, courage, and relentless spirit. And then, at the critical moment, Kalen and Mira coordinated the final move. A strike of unprecedented risk. Ships funneled energy through the folds of space, creating a cascading effect that pierced the heart of the alien fortress. Time shimmered. Reality warped. The fortress convulsed in light and darkness, bending like a storm caught in a mirror. On board the Spectre, Kalen's hand trembled slightly as he initiated the final sequence. "For Earth," he whispered. The explosion was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Not a simple destruction, but a collapse of the alien core's existence, a rewriting of energy and matter itself. The fortress fractured, and the alien fleet, disoriented and powerless, scattered into the void. Silence followed. For a moment, the universe seemed to pause, witnessing the audacity of a species it had underestimated for millennia, and then slowly the stars shimmered again, the void settling into a fragile peace. On Earth, people looked up, sensing a quiet in the night sky that was different. Some felt awe, some felt hope, some felt the invisible hand of humanity reaching out across the cosmos. Kalen looked around the bridge, eyes meeting those of Mira and every captain on board. "We have done what we were told could not be done," he said quietly. "We survived, we struck, we endured." Mira nodded, voice soft but strong. "The Phantom Navy, humanity, we're more than legends. We are proof." And across the stars, far beyond what humans could see, a whisper seemed to echo in the emptiness. "They are not to be conquered. They are eternal. The universe had gone to war over Earth, and humanity had not only survived, it had awakened the storm of its own making. The Phantom Navy returned to the shadows, ships vanishing like ghosts, leaving the cosmos with a memory of human courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. On Earth, the night sky glimmered. Stars burned brighter, not because they had changed, but because humans had, and somewhere deep within the hearts of every living being a quiet truth settled in. No matter the darkness, no matter the enemy, humanity endures. The Phantom Navy had awakened. The universe had learned, and humanity would never forget. The first signal arrived like a whisper across the stars. No one knew where it came from. No human satellite had ever picked up anything like it. It was subtle at first, almost polite. A flicker of energy in the void. A pulse with the rhythm of curiosity, not threat. Yet, when it repeated, stronger, faster, insistent, it carried a warning that chilled every commander in the United Nations Space Coalition. On Earth, in a small observatory perched above the city of Leora, Captain Elias Rahn watched the oscillating lights on his screen with a tightening chest. He was a tall man with silver-streaked hair and eyes the color of storm clouds, a man whose calm demeanor belied the restless energy he carried inside. "It's intelligent," he whispered, as though speaking aloud would make the realization more real. Across the globe, in orbit above Mars, the Martian Defense Outpost detected the same signal. Commander Alina Serov leaned against the bulkhead, staring at the readouts. Her hand trembled. She wasn't afraid of space. She had been born among it. But this was different. The signal wasn't just communication, it was an assessment. Something out there had noticed Earth, and it was deciding. Within hours, the pulse intensified. It spread through the electromagnetic spectrum like a storm, vibrating through deep space, touching every listening post. Then came the shadow ships. First one, then another, then a flotilla that blotted out entire sectors of the sky. They were not human, not even vaguely humanoid. Sleek, angular, and shimmering with an unnatural darkness, the vessels moved with a precision that no human fleet had ever seen. Humanity panicked. But it was not the chaos of terror. No, it was a fire, a defiant spark. Nations abandoned petty grievances. Military alliances that had once been fragile stitched themselves together. Every scientist, pilot, and soldier understood the stakes. Earth had been noticed. And the universe wanted it. Elias gathered a council of the brightest minds in Leora, speaking with urgency that made every word feel like a heartbeat. "They don't see us as neighbors," he said. "They see us as something valuable or dangerous, and when something is either it is taken or destroyed." Alina, receiving a direct transmission from Earth, clenched her fists. "We cannot fight them," she said. "Not yet. But we can survive. We can hide, we can endure." Her voice was trembling, but inside her burned a steel resolve that could ignite entire worlds. And then, the first attack. It wasn't a war of firepower at first. It was subtle. Communications were jammed, satellites pulled from orbit, entire cities experienced blackouts. The aliens, whatever they were, probed, studying, testing humanity's defenses. Every day, new anomalies appeared. Strange gravitational shifts, objects disappearing and reappearing in impossible places, entire fleets vanishing before human eyes. Yet in the midst of this, something extraordinary stirred. Across Earth's oceans, hidden in secret bunkers within fleets long rumored to exist but never confirmed, strange transmissions flickered to life. They came from places that had no record, from ships that had no names in any registry. And the message was simple: we remember. We are ready. The world called them myths, the Phantom Navy. Legends of ships that could slip through space as if it were water. Fleets that had been constructed in secrecy for generations, maintained in silence, watched over by humans who had long passed into history. Now the Phantom Navy was awakening. Elias stared at the night sky, now lit with alien shadows. "They came for war," he said quietly. "They chose the wrong planet." His hand hovered over a console, trembling yet determined. Humanity was not ready, but some part of it had been waiting, always. And the first strike of the Phantom Navy would be more than a defense. It would be a declaration: humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not yield. Humanity remembers the power of its own spirit. Far across the galaxy, the alien fleet paused, sensing something shift in the empty reaches. Something ancient, something unseen had awakened. And somewhere in the silence of space, the first ghostly engines roared to life. The alien fleet loomed over the orbit of Earth like a shadow carved from obsidian. Every ship was immense, angular, impossibly precise. Yet to the humans watching, there was beauty in its cold geometry. Still, beauty did not erase fear, but humanity had ghosts. Deep beneath the waters of the Atlantic, hidden from satellites, hidden from the eyes of every nation, the Phantom Navy stirred. Admiral Kalen Voss, a man whose name had been whispered for decades as myth, stepped onto the bridge of the flagship Spectre. His uniform was simple, his presence commanding, and yet he carried a weight of centuries in his posture. Centuries not of his own life, but of the vigilance of generations who had prepared for this very moment. "Status?" he asked, his voice low and steady. "Alien fleet detected, orbit stable, no immediate aggression." "Yet," replied Lieutenant Mira Ellen, her fingers dancing across a holoscreen. She was young, brilliant, fearless, and utterly human in a way that Kalen admired. "They are probing. They're curious, but we can see the hesitation. They sense something. Unusual?" Kalen's lips curled into the smallest of smiles. "Good, let them wonder. Let them fear. Now we move." The Phantom Navy rose like phantoms indeed, ships slipping through the layers of space-time, disappearing and reappearing in moments, weaving through orbits and magnetic fields as if the universe itself were a river. Humans had learned to travel differently. Their engines did not roar, they whispered, sliding through folds of reality, becoming untouchable. Above them, the alien fleet noticed something strange. Sensors flickered, signals jammed. Entire segments of their formation seemed to vanish for seconds, long enough to ignite panic among crews who had never encountered anything like it. And then came the first strike. It was surgical, elegant, terrifying. The Phantom Navy did not charge. It did not fire indiscriminately. They moved like shadows, sending pulses that disabled alien engines, scrambled weapon arrays, and left entire ships floating helpless in the void. One by one, the aliens realized that the humans they had underestimated were not just capable, they were untouchable when the time came. On Earth, news reports could only capture confusion and awe. Satellites that had been dead for years flickered back online with feeds showing fleets of ghostly ships vanishing into empty space. No nation claimed credit, no government admitted existence. Yet for the first time, the people of Earth felt a surge of hope that had nothing to do with politics, borders, or armies. On board the Spectre, Kalen watched the alien vessels immobilized by his fleet's strikes. He knew this was only the beginning. "Mira," he said quietly, "we cannot let them adapt. They will learn quickly, and when they do, the war will be nothing like this. We must hit deeper, harder, make them understand Earth is untouchable." Mira nodded, determination in her eyes. "Understood, Admiral, but the civilians, they're watching. We can't risk showing the full scale of our power just yet. Let them believe the legends are true. Let them hope." Kalen's gaze softened ever so slightly. "Hope, yes. That is as powerful as any weapon." Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Commander Alina Seraph watched the shadows shift with disbelief. Her communication channels were alive with the Phantom Navy's interference, but there was no fear in her heart. Instead, awe took root. She could feel the weight of centuries of preparation in every maneuver, in every pulse of energy, in every silent strike.
Humanity had prepared not as nations but as one species, and it was beautiful. But war was never simple.
Even as the Phantom Navy disabled the alien engines, strange things began to happen. Time seemed unstable. Alien crews reported seeing phantom ships that were not there. Weapons fired at empty space, missing by meters, though humans reported no attack. Shadows flickered, twisting in impossible angles. The aliens realized, too late, that they were fighting not just humans, but the memory of humans, the ingenuity of generations, the will of a species that refused to be conquered. Kalen watched the effects unfold and allowed himself a rare moment of grim satisfaction. "We are not just fighting for Earth," he said. "We are fighting for every human who ever dreamed, who ever feared, who ever hoped. And we will not fail." Far away, unseen and unimagined, a single alien voice, if it could even be called that, whispered across the void, They are not what we expected. They are something else entirely, and the universe held its breath. The Phantom Navy had awoken, and the war over Earth had truly begun.